Assalamu alaikum dear students. Welcome to all of you. CompTIA plus lecture 4. And I am your instructor Ahmed Malik. In our previous lectures, we discussed about the main components of our computer hardware like motherboard, CPU, RAM, and many sockets and so on. And especially, we learned how to deassemble a computer through a practical demonstration. From this lecture, we are going to start the next chapter, that is chapter 2. And in this chapter, we will learn how to assemble your computer and what factors are involved and what precautions we need before starting work. So let's take a start. Chapter 2, Assembling a Computer. As you know that in our previous lectures, mostly we tried to cover theoretical concepts, but from here, most of our work is on practical, and through practical demonstrations, we learn how to assemble a computer. And as you know that computer learning is much more practical as compared to theoretical. Assembling a computer is often a large part of an IT technician's job. You must work in a logical manner when working with computer components. At times, you might have to determine whether a component for a customer's computer needs to be upgraded or replaced. It is important that you develop skills in installation procedures, troubleshooting techniques, and diagnostic methods. This chapter discusses the importance of component compatibility. It also covers the needs for adequate system resources to efficiently run the customer's hardware and software. Computers, computer components, and computer peripherals all contain hazards that can cause severe injury. Therefore, this chapter begins with the general and fire safety guidelines to be followed when working with computer components. In this chapter, you will learn about the PC power supplies and the voltage they provide to the other components of the computer. You will learn about the components that are installed on the motherboard, the CPU, RAM, and various adapter cards. You will learn about the different CPU architectures and how to select RAM that is compatible with the motherboard and the chipset. You will also learn about the various types of storage drives and the factors to be considered when selecting the appropriate hard drives. It is important to not only learn about assembling computer components but also to build the hands-on skills. In this chapter, there are several labs, as I have discussed previously, where you will assemble a computer. Each of the labs have you progressively install components such as the power supply, CPU, RAM, drives, adapter cards, and cable until computer assembly is not complete. As I have previously discussed with you, before starting to assemble a computer, we must need to know about some general and fire safety precautions. In this video explanation, you will learn about the general and fire safety precautions while working in a computer. Step number 1, remove watches or jewelry. Step number 2, turn off and unplug all the equipments before starting work. Step number 3, remove clutter from the workspace. Step number 4, cover the sharp edges inside the computer. Step number 5, wear safety goggles. Step number 6, proper lifting procedure must be available. And step number 7 is fire extinguisher must be available, rating and how to use. All these things must make sure before starting the work.
Hello everyone. Imagine building a computer with your bare hands. Good thing we don't have to do that. We are here to look at the tools used to work both outside and inside our computer cases. We're going to start here with ESD safety. I have an anti-static wrist strap here, and also I have an anti-static mat. With the anti-static wrist strap, we put it around our wrist or our ankle so it contacts our skin. You can even tighten it. Now, there's an alligator clip that can attach to ground. Ground for us can be a computer case or ground on an outlet. The anti-static wrist strap alligator clip can also connect directly to our anti-static mat. And this will ground ourselves correctly with our workspace. Now, as we continue, sometimes you may find a computer that has not been touched or cleaned in what seems like a decade. For situations like this, we can use a cleaning tool such as a compressed air can. When you get into a computer and you find out that a lot of computers can be completely disgusting inside, canned air like this can help us clean out the CPU heatsink, the CPU fan, the GPU heatsink and fan, and doing so allows us to keep our devices running cool and without errors. So many problems with computers is because of heat issues, and a can of compressed air should always be in your toolkit. Let's continue with screwdrivers and magnetic tips. Commonly, the magnet will be weak enough to not affect the sensitive devices within your computer, but they are usually strong enough to assist in not losing and/or retrieving screws. If you've ever dropped a screw into your computer case, you'll understand this frustrating game of retrieval. Now, some kits may come with a device like this, an extraction tool. Besides retrieving lost screws, we should talk about the most common type of screws in use. The most common type of screws are Phillips screws. The Phillips head screwdriver is what we should have in our toolkit for most of our work. Now, some computers might use Torx or flathead screws, so we should have those screwdrivers in our kit as well. While working on a computer, we'll eventually have to verify network connectivity. We should have some basic network connectivity verification tools in our kit to verify cabling, cable rating, and functionality. This cable tester can save you from experiencing a variety of headaches. If a cable is bad, we should have tools like these crimpers over here that allow us to both cut and terminate cable. An organized storage case works wonders while working both inside and outside a computer case. This holds true when you're removing screws from a variety of different adapter cards, drives, motherboard standoffs, and more. Keeping things organized using cases allows us to save a lot of headaches from occurring. Keeping organized is the top tool of the IT professional. Get comfortable using the tools in your toolkit. Build out your own toolkit now, but keep in mind, your kit will continue to grow and become customized based on your evolving skills. Hello everyone, it's time to talk safety. Let's go over some guidelines in order to avoid cuts, burns, electrical shock, and damage to your eyesight. To start off, we want to remove any watches or jewelry, and also secure our loose clothing. Done. We also need to make sure that we turn off and unplug any equipment before we work on it. A safe and usable workstation, it's going to be a clean workstation, so make sure you keep food and drinks and any clutter out of our workspace. We also need to make sure that as we work inside of a computer case, that any sharp objects should be covered with tape. For your own safety, you should never open a power supply or a monitor that has a built-in power supply. And while we work, it's very important to wear safety goggles to prevent damage to your eyesight. When you go to lift those heavy computer towers, printers, servers, and more, make sure that you bend your knees when you lift heavy objects to avoid injuring your back. As we work with electrical and dangerous components, you never know when something might catch fire. You should always know where the closest fire extinguisher is, and also how to use it. As we discuss fire safety, it's important that you remember to never fight a fire that is out of control, or not contained. You should make sure that you know how to get out of the building quickly that you are in. And don't forget to contact emergency services for help. Make sure you're prepared. You should locate and read the instructions on any fire extinguisher near your workspace before you use them. Also, you should make sure that the fire extinguisher is going to work. For example, this fire extinguisher no longer is ready to work. It needs a recharge. Now, a fire can spread very quickly and also be very costly. You should know the basics of using a fire extinguisher to prevent a small fire from getting out of control. The word you have to remember is pass. P stands for pull the pin. A stands for aim at the base of the fire, not at the flames. S stands for squeeze the lever. S stands for sweep the nozzle from side to side. You should be familiar with the different types of fire extinguishers. Some fire extinguishers, they're actually designed for paper, wood, plastics, and cardboard. while others are designed for electrical equipment or even gasoline or combustible metals. This fire extinguisher here is rated for a couple items. It's rated for trash, wood, and paper. It's rated for liquids, grease, and it's rated for electrical. Let's take a look at my fire extinguisher in action.
After making sure all the safety measures has been completed, here at this point, we will learn through video demonstration how to install power supply. We need to follow these three steps. Step number one, open the computer case. Step number two, align the screw holes on the power supply with the mount on the computer case. Step number three, screw the power supplies into place. Note, remember that in most computer cases, power supply is pre-installed, means we have no need to install power supply that is previously installed in the computer case.
Hello everyone, we've got our PC desktop tower here. We're going to open this thing up and get started in the installation of a power supply. I've got my anti-static mat down and I've got my anti-static wrist strap connected to it, so we're going to be good to go to get started. So, I'm going to take this computer tower and we're going to place it on its face. So put it face side down. And by doing this, what we're going to see here on the back is going to be this huge slot. This is our power supply slot. Now right now we've got nothing there, so this is where we're going to install our power supply, which we have ready for us, sitting on our mat. To start, step one is to open the right side cover of the computer case. So I'm going to put this thing back down on its right side, and I'm going to use my Torx screwdriver to unscrew this screw holding on this computer case. I'll slide off the cover, and we'll be able to take a look at the inside of our computer tower. Now at this point in time we have an empty computer tower. We have nothing installed at the moment. All we have are some USB and audio headers attached to the front of the case. If I put the case front side down, we can view these adapter card slots here right above the power supply slot on the back. Our power supply unit, known as a PSU, that's what we're about to install. So let's chat about the PSU. Now, right now with this PSU, it's got so many watts. This is a 450 watt power supply. And on this PSU, it is currently set to 115 volts, the US standard. If you look closely at the PSU, we can actually take a look at more details of it, including form factor for the PSU. But that's not for us at this moment. Now, for us, make sure you plan ahead and choose the correct power supply unit for your computer build, especially if your CPU and choice of graphics cards are going to pull a lot of power. Now, step two, we need to align the screw holes of our power supply with this power supply slot. So we have the power supply slot here. I'm going to take my power supply and put it into play, and we can take a look at those screw holes that are about to line up and see if we can lock this in. Now my case is really cool because it actually has a locking mechanism that I can let go of the power supply. My screw holes are aligned and it is currently locked into place. Now we need to take the action of screwing it in. If you look closely, you'll see those screw holes are currently lined up, and we can even get a closer view based off of my camera. There we go. So what we want to do now is lock those screws into play. So I'll take 4 of my power supply screws, and we get to put this thing in and be done. All 4 screws are installed. The power supply is not going anywhere. Hopefully you chose the correct wattage for your internal parts, otherwise you'll be switching this thing out in the very near future. Thanks for watching our power supply install.
Compatibility issues are very important when you are going to assemble a computer. All the selected components must be compatible with each other or working with each other. The choice of motherboard and external components influence the selection of the case and power supply. The motherboard form factor must be matched with the correct type of computer case and power supply. For example, an ATX motherboard requires ATX compatible case and power supply. You can select a large computer case to accommodate additional components that may be required in the future. Or you might select a smaller case that requires minimal space. In general, the computer case should be durable, easy to service, and have enough room for expansion. Some most common factors that affecting the choice of a case are being discussed here, like model type. The type of motherboard you choose determines the type of case that can be used. The size and shape must be matched exactly. Like size, if a computer has many components, it will need definitely more room for airflow to keep the system cool. Power supply. You must match the power rating and connection types of power supply to the type of motherboard you have chosen. Appearance. For some people, how the case looks does not matter at all, but for most of the people, it is critical. There are many case designs available in the market that are more attractive and colorful. If a people is critical about that, you must use an attractive like status display. What is going on inside the case can be very important. LED indicators that are mounted on outside of the case can tell you if the system is running or receiving power, when the hard drive is being used, and when the computer is in sleep or hibernate mode. Vents. Vents are very important to keep the system cool. All cases have a vent on the power supply, and some have another vent on the backside of the to draw air into or out of the system. Some cases are designed with more vents in the event that the system needs a way to exhaust an unusual amount of heat. This situation may occur when many devices are installed closer together in the case. After the selection of case and power supply, the selection of system fan is also very important, and some key factors must be keep in mind in the selection of case fan. The first one is case size. Large cases often requires larger fans because smaller fans cannot create enough airflow. Fan speed. Large fans can spin more slowly and than smaller fans, which reduces the noise. Number of components. Multiple components in a computer create additional heat, which requires more fans, large fans or faster fans. Physical environment. The case fans must be able to disperse enough heat to keep the interior of the case to be cool. Number of mounting places available. Different cases have different number of mounting places for cooling fans. Location of mounting places available. Different cases have different locations for mounting places as well. Electrical connections. Some case fans are connected directly to the motherboard, while others are connected directly to the power supply. Normally, small case fans are connected with motherboard and large fans are directly connected with power. I hope this lecture is informative for you. Thanks for today and stay connected for upcoming lectures. Thank you very much.